Same.
Yeah.
I just Google searched it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can't wait to see what it's.
It's going to be funny. I tell you that.
Yeah.
I know. That's why those guys were like, fuckers, you guys should be
Yeah,
here
I know.
for this. Yeah.
They chickened out.
Well,
They did. I think that's what it is.
I'll ask them next week what theirs is too.
But you have one of them.
I do have one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of them.
But you're going to save it for next week so we can tackle them then?
No.
Well,
I think we should reveal.
We'll tackle.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll tackle them now.
Then
Maybe
we
I'll
can laugh
I'll
at
ask
them.
the questions that I've got for you guys
Oh, gotcha.
during my
That's
segment
it.
next week.
And then you can pour it on them next week.
Yeah.
No.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But I will have our conversation.
All right.
Anyways, I see your finger.
No, I was just. I'm not in a hurry. Yeah, exactly. 6:02. We're good. Time to play bikes. All right. The theme's not as loud as it was last time, so I'm anxious to hear if it comes through in the final recording. I realize my hearing's going out. Roubaix is over, and man, what a race. Can't believe that some asshole hit Matthew in the face. Regardless of that, Tade's corner was a botch, perhaps because of his cheese grater watch. Welcome to episode 475 of the longest-standing podcast on the sport of cycling. This is the one and only Packfiller Cycling Podcast. Think of us as a post-ride beer with several rides and one asshole. I am potentially that asshole. My name's Pat Bulger, and if you're new to the show, welcome. We are not your usual cycling podcast filled with results and stats, although we do have some of that. Think of us as an audio cycling soap opera. That's right, we're all about the characters. Once you get hooked, you'll come back for the pure joy of dysfunction. Let's meet tonight's characters, shall we, with our scratch prologue. Gentlemen, the question for tonight is, what's your go-to method for leaving a party or gathering? Are you a Irish goodbye? Are you find an excuse? Or, do you leave early? Do you leave last? Those kinds of things, okay? So here we go with the introductions. First of all, he brought fresh waffles for which he actually had to wire an outlet to the Paris-Roubaix Sunday party along with his dog, Mr. Paul Main. Mm-hmm. How are you, man?
Doing all right. Yeah,
You saw Flanders treats were left behind.
yeah,
so.
I did. I realized that when I got home.
Was he pretty pissed at you all weekend because of it?
No, we have treats like in the corner of
Everywhere.
every part of our place. Yeah.
You have the remote. Do you use the remote thing anymore where it just spits them out?
So, before we came here, my mother-in-law comes over because I'm at the podcast. She comes to visit and watches German television with my wife, but we always have dinner together before I come to the show.
Okay.
And lately we've been going to Mary Hill, which is a winery for those who don't know. That's
Yes,
right next to the
yes.
Spokane River, and we were on the deck having our dinner and a bottle of wine, and it was great. And that's when we use the camera to make sure that he's not disturbing
Going
our
crazy.
neighbors. Yeah. And he's pretty good now when we both leave at the same time.
Yeah.
So the 24th, which is our first bike race, training race here in Spokane, it'll be interesting. Renee will be at work, and I'm going to try and escape.
There
See
you
how it
go.
goes.
Leave the same time she does or something like that. Or
Yeah, I have to leave before.
just have the dispenser spit out a little trazodone.
Yeah, and we've tried. He does not do well on that. By the way.
Oh, he doesn't.
Well,
He gets the
he
opposite.
throws up and.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he
Oh,
didn't
God.
do well.
Well, I'm going to want to know what was in those waffles because my wife had the last one the next day, and she goes, it had some sort of a glazing on top. It was so good. I'm like, don't tell us because then I'll make them, and then we'll all go down the hill. So what's your method for leaving a party or gathering? How do you bail?
Well, it depends on the event. If it's something I really like, it's really hard for me to pull away, and it's usually the guests that have to say, "Hey, get the hell out of here."
Okay, so you're the sometimes the last one standing.
Yeah, I am. I'm notorious. It's usually my wife that's like under the table I get kicked in the shin, and I'm like, "What's wrong with her? Hey, you keep hitting me in the
Ow.
shin. Ow!" Yeah. Or in a conversation, you hear me go, and so,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But if it's a bad party, I usually say, "I'm sorry, I gotta go. I've got I think I'm just an explosion of diarrhea, and I don't want to leave an eagle's nest in your toilet, so I gotta go." So that's how I deal with that.
I think I remember we used that once.
Yeah.
The three of us. We set the
Oh,
entire
yeah,
blame
yeah.
on Paul's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
diarrhea.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Easy to do.
Yeah, apparently that's a good one.
Yeah.
I have two introductions that I'm going to say anyway, but neither Waples are here. So you notice I said he brought fresh waffles with Paul. Number two, he brought his dad. Mr. Sam Waples. You know, it's like, if you got to bring something to the party, bring your dad.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. Third, he didn't bring anything, but he left crumbs on the bar. I had to actually kind of wipe down the entire bar. He sat right where I usually sit here, and I came down like after everybody left. It was like this little pile of crumbs. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
So they weren't chewy cookies then?
No, they were dry. My hockey. Yeah, that's what I was gonna. That's mine. Next, he played the brilliant role of support crew for his half marathon conquering wife on Prairie Roubaix Sunday. Mr. Jackson Bulger, how are you, man?
Good, thanks. Yeah.
How do you leave the party?
Well, it depends on. I'm actually never alone. But there was one time in college when I was alone, and I don't know what it is about theater majors at the college that I went to, but they always wanted to dance. I was like, I never want to dance.
Yeah.
Like, I'll dance when my wife is there, but that's a different story. Yeah. I don't want to dance with a bunch of sweaty theater majors. Yeah. So I just left without saying anything. Yeah. That was the only time I've ever done that. But typically it's, well, all right. See you guys.
Yeah, like there have been times you guys come over here for dinner or something like that, and we'll just be talking. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's just like, all right then. Well, and not in a bad way. No, it's just like, I guess, like that's it. I guess we're done.
You learned that from your grandpa?
No,
it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
he's a lot more like, all right, get the hell out. Yeah, kind of guy. But
it's bedtime.
Yeah. No, we just kind of like we naturally feel that time when it's like. We don't have anything else to talk about. You don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah,
right, it's time to go.
Just reach that lull.
Yeah.
I've never been to that point.
What's it like?
I've always got something to talk about.
What's it like? Yeah. Me, I supplied coffee and as we aforementioned, scratch hockey pucks. I had made scratch cookies, and I keep looking at them in the oven, and I'm like, oh, those fuckers aren't done. I gotta cook them a little longer, and it says like 15 minutes, and I go about 20. And so they were little hockey pucks. They were pretty tough. I
still enjoyed mine yesterday.
They're still pretty good, but yeah. I am, if the party is at my house, I am the master of the Irish goodbye. I learned that from my father, where it is just like, yeah, so anyway. I pretend I'm going to the bathroom and I just go to bed. And that's just, I'm really good at that. I don't know if I'm good at that. I don't know if that's a good way to end a party when you just leave.
As a host, you do that?
Yeah. And well, I do it because I don't want the party to end because I'm tired. I just kind of want everybody to keep going and having a great time. And if, and that's it. Because if I say, guys, I'm going to bed, somebody's going to go like, oh God, we'll leave then. I don't want to do that. And I just want, okay, continue on. I'm just going to go to bed. I'm out of here.
Right.
My older brother does that.
Does he?
He always like, you guys continue on. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And you're like, you hear crickets. People are like,
see, yeah, I don't even say you guys continue on. I like, you know what? That's awesome. You know what else? I'm gone. I just, I don't even finish the sentence. Now, if we're at somebody else's house, I just kind of get the feeling, kind of like Jackson. It's just like, all right. And then we just get up and leave. And it's not, I don't think if it's a bad party, yeah, we'll kind of, I get uptight. I will admit, if it's a bad party, I get uptight and I'm texting my wife going, get me the fuck out of here or something like that. But so there we go. Yeah. I'm never last to stick around. I've never been good at that. So I try. Gentlemen, we are getting to the time of the year that the racing starts. Before we went on air, Paul was mentioning the race that we will probably mention here shortly, and drinking. Some listening to the show likely have already been doing such, but we here in Spokane, Washington are just getting started. With that being said, guys, how has your cycling life been over the past week? Who wants to say how things are going either well or poorly?
I mean, mine's going pretty well. Next week, is our first race.
It is next
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm feeling pretty good. I like to look at like the Strava fitness numbers. See how much they've changed. And over the past 2 years, I am where I was now. Actually, I'm higher than where I was now last July.
Okay.
So I'll take that as I don't know if it's a very meaningful number, but I kind of it's a fun number to look at. But I'm feeling good. Last week was really good. We had spring break, and I did around 170 miles, which I was happy with. And it was a lot of, there were some intensity moments, but it was a lot of just like the good miles, which felt really, really nice sometimes just to do. But like I said, there was some of that intensity in there, which I was really happy about. But this week is all intensity, and then next week will be just relax before the first one.
Oh, man. Paul had to go. We didn't really bring this up for the Levi show, but that's okay. We can just kind of sum up.
I can't remember. No. I know the last one was actually a positive ride. We have a teammate we haven't seen for a while, Dan. He reached out to me, and everybody had obligations on Sunday. So
I didn't. I just slept.
Yeah. But the funny thing is that we went out for a ride, and we did the Troika Loop, which is one of my favorites because rolling hills, you got winds, and it's just a good mixed bag of things. And we were clipping along pretty good. It felt, my legs for the first time felt like they're starting to get underneath me, not 100%, but I was like keeping tempo, maybe a little bit increased beyond tempo and can hold it and stuff. So, and when we rolled in, there was a guy who lives downtown. We park in the same garage, and he rides a lot. And he saw Dan and I, and he waved, and he said, there was another guy. I saw him in the garage, parking the car. And he says, there's another guy at Arrivee right behind you. So I thought, who in the heck was that? It was you, because we came back on Riverside by the gun club.
Oh, and
You were like, he says, less than a minute. You just missed us. You could have probably seen it.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
God.
God.
We were coming in. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I did that sprint workout on Sunday.
A good one.
And, it hurt like a mofo. I was happy to see that, and I'm not afraid to say my numbers. I got, because of spring break last week, I got 5 workout days in. Most of, if not all of them, outdoor rides. I do that Monday rowing thing, so I counted that as a workout, even though it wasn't outside. And that, things were feeling good. And you jokingly, Jackson, said you got some good kind of base miles in. Several of those rides were with me, and I was not in zone 2. I was in zone 3, zone 4, stuff like that. So that puts a little fear into my pit of my stomach, But don't worry about it, Jackson. I'm not blaming you. Well, no. And then there are moments like that Strava number you're saying. I too am where I was in July last year.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I'm 140% higher of where I was 2 years ago at this time of year.
It's pretty cool to look at.
So, I don't know how accurate it is, but it sure makes me feel good. And it's the last thing I look at when I go to sleep at night. And, staring at numbers, the cemetery climb on that we, heading out by SCC, it's one of the, it's a little chili dipper. It's not a very big hill or something like that. But I did a lot of those segments, and I averaged like 478, 480 watts over that. And so I'm going, okay, that's all right for a big boy like me. And if I was 10 pounds lighter, I'd go that much faster. But no, things are good. So I'm ready to go. I think so, as best as I can. But I definitely did know last week when to take a day off. I took 2 days off last week. I took Wednesday and Saturday off last week, and Saturday was weird that I did, because usually you're thinking, dude, it's Saturday. You got to get out and go. How good are you guys at reading your body when it comes to training loads and when to back off? Are you guys, or do you just forge ahead and go, I felt like shit today, but I'm doing 3 hours tomorrow anyway?
Yeah, I mean, last week, what did I do? I think last week I recognized when it's time to not necessarily take the day off, but when it's time for like a active recovery day. So like when we went on Thursday, that was our longest ride of the week. But afterwards I was like, I just feel a little bit more tired, because that was my, I think, 3rd straight day in a row. And so the next day I was like, it might be time to just like scale it back a little bit, not be so intentional with efforts and things like that. But taking a day off, I think sometimes I have to find that balance, especially now that I've started training differently. I have more days, so now I'm like, I need to continue that pattern.
Okay. Paul, Do you listen, or are you old school, where it's just like?
Yeah, I listen to my body. I don't do numbers because I can't read because my glasses aren't on.
You forget to turn your computer on.
Oh, and that too. Yeah. But no, you've done it long enough. You can tell when the body when you're not feeling good because you're weak. I mean, you just need to keep working out and pushing it, or whether it's illness or you've overtrained. I know those feelings now, so. Overtraining is never going to be a problem on my schedule. So I know it's not that. So weakness or sicknesses, so it kind of takes that out of the equation. So
mine tends to lean more towards just an attitude. I get cranky. I'll sit here. I'll kind of go around the house going, God, where do I want to ride? Where am I going to go today? What's the plan? And I where's my other shoe cover? Screw it, or something like that. I notice it's almost a mental game, and that's kind of ironic of where we're going to be taking the show today. But I do pay attention to that. I do pay attention to some of the numbers in terms of my sleep quality, in terms of training load, but they're not super consistent. I do notice that some of the things I follow were much more accurate when I, for example, had that Whoop strap and things like that. I had a lot more consistent readings. I have some apps that kind of do the same thing, but close, that kind of do, and so I don't know if I pay as much attention to them or anything like that. What do you guys use to monitor, fatigue and training loads? You just kind of go off of, I remember, Paul, I don't know if you had to do this, but I remember our coach would say, have a stopwatch beside the bed. And the first thing you do when you wake up, you don't sit up. You reach over, you grab the stopwatch, and you take your resting heart rate. And then you stand up, and you immediately take your heart rate after that. And in your training diary, which should also be beside your bed, you write down the sitting, like a fraction, the sitting over the standing heart rate. And then you just establish that as a base, and you go through it like, okay, I was 6 and 10, or 60 and 100, or whatever it might be. Oh, today I'm 80 and 120, or actually I passed out when I stood up because I got up too fast or something like that.
Overtrained.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you guys do anything like that? Do you read any tea leaves or something like that? Do you just kind of go, feel like bag of dicks today, I'm not going to ride?
I mean, I've made it pretty apparent. I have a Garmin watch that I wear to bed every night.
Yeah.
And I do pay attention to little things here and there. I pay attention to resting heart rate, which ever since I've gotten towards the end of my training plan has gone down quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, especially outdoor riding has gone down like low 40s. And
Jesus.
yeah,
that's low.
That's I was surprised to see that.
Yeah.
But I pay attention to HRV a little bit because I know once you get past a specific range in Garmin, that's kind of like your sign, like, oh, you're kind of overtraining a little bit. But it's also interesting to see how your body changes some of its numbers as well. Like I was talking about resting heart rate, my HRV has actually begun to increase as well, which is a sign of higher fitness levels. There's that, and then I pay attention to a little bit of VO2 max, but that's about it.
For me, when you're talking about the old days, I used to do it because of the Eddie B book.
Yeah. That's where I learned it all from. Yeah.
I never kept a chart, but once I did it in a week, then I knew like my resting heart rate. I never did the stand-up thing.
Really?
But it was just resting heart rate. And just by me rolling over in bed and looking at it. So mine, I inherited this from my dad, a very, very low heart rate. So when I was your age, I was around 32 beats per minute at sleeping.
That's
so
crazy.
Even now, like mine, it's really hard for me to get my heart rate up.
Yeah.
And that might explain why I'm like a gear grinder. You know what I mean?
Might be.
So I can't, once I hit that high level, it's kind of hard for me to do that. But although when I was tested when I was 27, I maxed out at 203, but that was during the VO2 max heart rate thing.
Yeah.
So I have the capability, but I don't function well at that.
Yeah.
But that's what I ended up doing, is just doing resting heart rate, and then I could figure out, through time, just the way my body feels, you can kind of make mental notes and stuff. So
I know. I remember a couple of weeks ago when I saw that 200 number, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's high.
Deep.
That's insane.
I was 206. I've never seen that before.
That's way higher than I've ever. Mine was 203. Yeah.
What were you doing at that point in time?
Shit, I don't know, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It was
skydiving.
God.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was pretty crazy though.
See, now I'm staring. Now I brought up my stats app and things like that. So, yeah, resting heart rate is usually between 50 and 55. It is. Yeah, it's up since I was a little boy. But
this is just to explain how naturally my heart rate is low, is that anytime I've had surgery, I have a titanium plate in my number 5 metacarpal, and
really,
yeah. So I had surgery on that, and I had a hernia, and I've had 2 colonoscopies where they have a heart rate monitor on you, and I set it off all the time. It's too low.
It's too low. Yeah.
Renee, the last time I had my colonoscopy, Renee was in the room, and she just turned the machine off because the alarm kept going off.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting post-surgery around 45, 46 beats per minute.
Your wife's in the room while you're having a colonoscopy.
No, afterwards.
Oh, okay.
She's seen those parts before.
But yours.
Doesn't matter.
She
used to do that. She was a clinic nurse for a year and a half. And
I don't want my wife to see my poop shoot.
I guess afterward, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. And she's qualified to turn the machine off.
Yeah, she is.
My wife would just start pushing shit, and next thing I know,
she would be screaming, "He's dying!
Yeah.
He's dying! I need a nurse here."
I do remember once going into the tail end of the last bout with AFib, and there was a procedure I went in for, and they said, we got to give you some drugs to lower your heart rate because we need it to be below 60 before we start the procedure. And I'm like, take my pulse, please, right now. And they're like, oh, it's 52. I'm like, yeah. They're like, never mind. Moving right along.
Yeah. Well, even at surgery, when they do, even pre-surgery, when they take your heart rate, and they're like, is it always this low?
Yeah.
I said, well, what's it at? It'll be 50.
I get asked that too.
And then, are you a runner? And then I get pissed. My heart rate goes up. Way up.
Yeah.
And it would only be worse if
you're
you say, are you a triathlete? And then it's like, 206.
You're pulling the cables off.
Yeah.
I want a new doctor.
That's it. I'm out of here. Triathlete. For God's sake.
Take that back.
Quacks.
We are less than a month away from Tour de Bloom. Paul just drank, so I'll count that one.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, as someone not racing it, I know, little bitch. And with the Twilight Series next week, starting our local race series next week, and I kind of, we kind of alluded to this. Feeling race ready, and if you're willing to share what you really would like to work on over the next 2 weeks before the gig hits, Jackson, I know you're kind of a guy who likes to keep his cards pretty close to the chest. So if you're just like saying, no, I'm fine, that's good.
No, I'm open.
I'm on an audio podcast. I'm not going to talk. But what do you guys feel that you need to work on and get dialed in there?
Yeah, I mean, this week is, as I mentioned before, it's going to be a lot of kind of like intensity stuff. I will obviously have some probably end of the week kind of just like below FTP kind of level stuff. Sure. But yeah, that's this week. And then next week is going to probably be maybe a ride Monday and a ride Wednesday as kind of like openers or primers, and then race day Thursday. And then that next
and then
week,
a whole nother week before.
Yeah, a whole other week. Yeah. That'll be a
taper.
lot. Yeah, taper. Maybe, like I mentioned, if below FTP stuff. But that's kind of it. It's just crunch time now. The rest of the season is just maintain.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're not thinking to yourself, okay, Tour de Bloom, we already drank, is okay, gotta get the good luck. But it is I'm stammering today. Is it an early season objective, or is it a major season objective for you guys?
For me, I'll speak personally, it is no objective. It is sit in, shut up, hold on, whatever, however.
Get in, sit down, shut up, and hold on.
That one. It's just, as long as I finish, that's all I care about.
Really?
Yeah, because this is another level that I've never done before. I've raced some fast races, but I imagine this will be pretty fast. So I'm just hoping to finish, because I know, and I've mentioned this to a lot of people before, but I know that when I come back, I'll feel untouchable just from that race fitness experience that I got when we came back from our local big race last year. It was crazy, the feeling that I had, and I know this will be even better. So
that's a really cool way to look at it. I like that.
I can't put pressure on myself, because I know damn well that I'm not gonna win it.
Yeah. Paul, how are you feeling? What do you feel like you want to tweak or work out? You're
got
like
to work on speed. I got it, and recovery. That's a huge thing. I feel a little bit behind the 8 ball. I don't know how much of it is my age, but recovery, like not from the next day, but so much, but like with a huge effort and recovery, that type of interval work. I'm sure.
So like within the race itself, like crit speed,
and it'll be interesting. I think this coming Thursday, not this coming Thursday, but the 24th. I will just do the A's just to see where I'm at, because that'll push my...
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I think so. And if I feel good enough or I get dropped, I'll just sign up for the B's immediately.
Yeah.
But, I think because at the EPO race that I did last year, our crit was only for the 60-plus, and we had 40 plus 4s and 5s, which are, to me, I think if you're 4 and 5 and you're 40 years old, you're a Zwift guy.
Yeah, which means you've got massive numbers.
And our speed, we averaged it was only a half-hour crit, but we averaged in that first day 30.3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole time I'm like, God, because I don't have data in front of me. It's like I just can't seem to recover. Well, that's just the average speed. These guys they do 2 crits a week, and so that's normal.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that I know personally, because we don't have that. I have to work on outside of our Thursday night series and stuff. So, yeah. I'm
trying to figure out what type of racing I'm training for. I'm still in the midst of a Wahoo training cycle, but I've noticed one of them has come to an end and the other one has like 2 weeks left. I was combining a crit program and a 100-mile gravel program, and I was just kind of I would look at the week ahead, and I would pick and choose workouts based upon time, based upon intensity, based upon what I'm doing this weekend. And if we're doing something this weekend, obviously I would just do that in place of what the workouts were, because my target events aren't like your guys this year. I've got Belgian Waffle, which is 100 miles and probably 10,000 feet of climbing. And I've got Breck Epic, which is 3 days of massive climbing. None of this I am good at, but those are those things. And then mixed in there, I've got crits, I've got short, fast mountain bike races, I've got the RC3 road race and things like that. So it's like, I'm not sure what I need to work on. I mean, I'm almost just kind of resting back and going, okay, compared to the last 2 years, Pat, things are going a lot better. So don't fuck it up. Don't do anything drastic. Stay on top of the intensity stuff. A lot of the things I've been working on are 5-minute intensities, things like that, where where we'll get into when I ride with you guys, where everybody just kind of just sets the hammer down and goes for it and is rotating paceline and stuff like that. And I want to be able to hold on in that. I also want to be able to hold on in steady, medium climb efforts and things like that, which I'm still working on. But I'm not sure what I'm training for. It's because it's such a Easter basket full of just bizarre treats. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm training for.
If you take my advice to you, is because your big events are big and long and climbing, I would continue doing the Tuesday night, because those are basically sprints. Those Wednesday night mountain bike rides and the training road crit series that we have. That's your intensity. And then work on your endurance on the other days. And stuff, because that's where your money's tied up in, is these big long ones. So and intervals are great for even marathon runners when they're doing that. You have that type of workout. So I would use racing locally or whatever races you sign up, road racing, those are giving me short intensities.
Yeah. The Wednesday nights, we have the 1 or the 2 lap option, but because my buddy's in charge of the race and I am the announcer for those races, I don't do the 2-lap version because I'm just like, he's like, could you get back here and announce for us? And that's fair. I mean, that's completely fair. So I would do the 2-lappers just for that extra distance, but I'm not going to do that. So we'll just see how things go. How about skill sets? Downhilling, cornering, bike handling, aerodynamics. Are there any of those things that you feel could be, touched on or anything like that before we hit to the season? Like, for example, I'm working myself on the aerodynamic element, on keeping my elbows bent a little bit more than they usually have. I'm not locked out, but a lot of us spend a lot of the winter on the trainer, and you're looking up at a screen like you always mention, Paul, and you find yourself just back up, you're arched up, and then you come into the season and you need to get low to get fast. When I read that article that anything above 9 miles an hour, aerodynamics plays a key. And so I'm working on core strength, back strength, and working on getting myself lower on the bike. My cornering and downhilling feel okay. I do need to work on my bike handling for mountain bike. I got to get out and spend a lot of time on the trails because I think that Breck Epic stuff is going to be a little, for lack of a better word, epic. So how about you guys? Anything you need any kind of skill set?
I mean, I've mentioned before that my descending could always use a little bit of work. Ever since I've had a couple of events that have, placed me into a zone where I don't feel too.
You hit the ground.
I hit the ground or watch somebody else hit the ground.
Yeah.
And so those kind of things spook me a little bit. But over the past couple of weeks, I've noticed that I've just started putting my eyes in different places. It's just a total difference between a couple of feet in front of you and up the road.
Oh, okay.
I've noticed that just those little things help. And when we did our climbing workout that day, that really helped me because it wasn't too tight of cornering, but it was still like that fast pace, keeping it under control. So just stuff like that will really help me, I think. And also realizing that I don't have to follow the person in front of me. Exactly, their line. I can pick my own path.
Yeah. You're almost having to look, like if you're on their wheel, you have to look over their shoulder or a little bit, or even beside them or something like that to get a view of the road ahead and then be able to judge from there. I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
And I also get that, a tumble can lead to a little bit of the, I don't want to say jitters, but just you don't have that confidence that your tires aren't going anywhere, that you're stuck to the ground.
Yeah.
And that takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, Remco Evenepoel's coming back from right now. So,
yeah. So that's
mail truck took him out.
Yeah.
Opened up the door. Boom.
Oh, God.
Terrible.
Well, I think some of that, too, is that just having confidence. One, your dad and I have been doing it long enough that, we're pretty confident. And to me, I'm very particular on tires because I've developed such a trust, and I've been through tons of tires. And I'm willing to spend a little bit more money for that little bit of grip and guarantee. And so that's relying on your equipment, and that even happens in a pro. I think that pros they're glued on. They have a sponsored tire. They have to run them, and they have to know where those limitations are. I'm glad I'm not there because I have so much faith in the tires that I use, in the equipment that I have, that it's not going to fail. Because you don't want that in the back of your head when you're going down Mount Spokane at 45, 50 miles an hour heading in the corner and then tubeless burps.
Yeah.
And then
saying,
and that's what
it
caused
right there.
it. Yeah.
You've traumatized the 20-something.
Yeah. Well, and for an example, I rode with Dan, our teammate, on Sunday, and we were talking about your accident in the crit. He was behind you.
Yeah.
And he stood back. He's got a daughter that he's not going to be able to race much. In the next couple of years, he goes, I just had my daughter for a short period of time. I'm dedicating my life to that. But he goes, when I was out there and I saw Jackson going down, it's like, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, I don't want to be a point where I can't do things with my daughter and do the things that she likes. And that's where amateur cycling gets to. The thing is you have to put that on the line. And
I use the metaphor of I got to go to work in the morning. I got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive this corner for a ribbon.
But you're a teacher in the summer. You don't have that excuse.
Yeah, that's true. I gotta work in the backyard tomorrow or something
Yeah.
like that. You know,
Yeah.
actually, I just don't want to get pus and blood on the sheets.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's like, I will say it's crazy too how this is going to be exactly in, competition to what you guys are saying, but it's crazy how quickly the body recovers too. Sorry, this is just a random thought I had too, but it's just like, I remember when that crash happened, it was the next race and I was back.
Yeah.
And so that was just a wild thing, but I get what he's saying in that context.
And I don't mean to be the grumpy old fart in the room, but that's because of your age too, though.
100%.
Guys like us fall, we're fucked for a month.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like that though, has taught me that it doesn't matter if I'm going 10 feet or 10 miles. A helmet is always going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you were a kid, I always told your mom, I said, I'm going to get him the coolest looking helmets in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to put them on. That was always the deal.
Did he have a Batman one?
No, he was the Spider-Man dude.
A Spider-Man,
as a kid, but I don't
still
think
am.
he even had. I think your first one was red. I know that they were always red for a long
Spidey's
time.
got red in it.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they do now.
No.
They're pretty crazy now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Helmets and eyewear are the two things I always.
What's
I always
that?
didn't mess around with.
Eyewear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Don't know a
still
thing
can't
about that,
believe.
do you?
I still can't believe how you do that, especially for me with how much sweat gets in my glasses and it drives me crazy and it pisses me off and I'm cleaning them off all the time. I still won't not wear glasses.
Yeah.
I can't. I have to wear them.
Well, I mean, I used to have Rudy Projects of the first generation.
Yeah,
And
nice.
then a crash, I lost them and I couldn't afford another pair.
So you just got used to it.
Yeah, I got used to it. And Hedwig Van Hooydonk
Yeah.
never wore glasses. And
So
I thought
this
he
is
was my idol. So what
So
the hell?
this isn't out of tradition. This is out of stubbornness.
Yeah.
Okay.
In financial, I was economically way below the average cyclist. so
Okay.
that-
Yeah.
that's those glasses were like four. That's right. That's like four tubulars.
Yeah.
4 tubular tires for a pair of glasses. Like, no. I mean, I can't do that.
But now look where you are.
Yeah, I still got both eyes.
So
Yeah.
Then 4 tubular tires.
Yeah. I can do. I have 4 left. I always keep 4 in stock. You never
Just
know.
in case. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, I got to glue some on for the race.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Oh my God! Well, you guys, let's do a little shift of gears.
Okay.
And speaking of bike handling, it's time to get to what everyone's thought of this week's past headlines. Thanks to some friends from Muck Off. You know you need to keep that bike in proper order, and Muck Off has the tools to make you do it right. Use our link right on the website. Let them know we sent you. Trust the pink. Trust Muck Off. If you are a purist, traditionalist, or just fan of bumpy bike races, your favorite day of the year was this past Saturday and Sunday with Paris-Roubaix and Paris-Roubaix Femme avec Zwift. That's a mouthful. Providing pure fireworks from the men's and women's pro pelotons. The women's race marked the ageless return of Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. Holy God, this woman can't stop. Not only to the road scene, but on top of the podium with a well-timed attack and a strong solo effort to finish just under 1 minute ahead of EF Education Oatly's, if I fuck up her name, I'm sorry, Letizia Borghese and Lorena Wiebes, who actually was a little bit farther behind her, about 3 seconds behind her, coming in. Mariana Voss rounding out for 4th place. Allison Jackson with a strong 5th place. So happy to see that. I don't know why I keep rooting for her, just because she seems really cool. And I will say the first. Let me look. It's first. Wiebes was the first SD Works, and there was not another one in the top 10. So great show of teamwork by Visma Lisa Bike. It did mark a pretty damn troublesome day for SD Works Pro Time. Talk to me about what you guys noticed on Saturday. And Paul, I'm going to let you go second because you did mention you were a bit kind of disappointed by the group after the main separation.
I was excited to see Pauline get as far ahead as she did. I mean, with the background she had, I wasn't really too surprised, to be fair, though.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, though. And then I think for a team like EF, I think they needed it. I didn't know that they weren't in the UCI World Tour rankings, and I think that's probably a pretty good point bonus for them.
Huge, yeah.
And honestly, I was a little bit happy to see SD Works kind of fumble a little bit. I think it's about time. But I'm really excited to hear our little breakdown.
Yeah. Lotta Kopecky looked very strong. Mm-hmm. She looked like one of the strongest people in that front group. Mm-hmm. But at times she was going back and making sure that Weebus was doing okay. I mean, she was pouring water on her. She was kind of, it's almost like there was a predestined decision that this is how the race was going to unfold if she couldn't accelerate and ride away from the group. I found that really odd. I also found it interesting that Pauline Ferrand-Prévot said before the race to the press, which is, who knows if she's bluffing or something like that, that she was going to spend the day working for Marianne Vos. And you wonder if that attack originally that she made was just a dummy acceleration to see what happened, and then she got the gap and was never seen from again. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting kind of tactical planning or lack thereof. So Paul, and you had mentioned that you were kind of like, I saw you on Saturday, and I said, wow, how about that women's race? And you went, I just had a hard time with it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of negative racing. If people don't know what that is, it's, individuals going up, and then they just the group kind of chases as a whole, and it stops until somebody goes. And that would seem to be happening. And there was a period there where, like you mentioned, Kopecky was, man, she seemed strong because she was doing everything for Weebus. And I think in the long term, that's what they were trying to set up.
Yeah,
is get her to the velodrome. If there's anybody there, she's got it. That's a guaranteed, thing. I think Kopecky did, in my opinion, did majority of the work from like 60K out for the whole group.
For the whole group,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's disheartening for me. I'd like to see, Lido Trek, who's had a great success in this race. I don't like the smaller teams. I don't really expect them because there's powerhouses that have to be involved. But a couple others come to the forefront and create something. It was like, okay, we caught SD Works, let's sit. And there was a period there, like I mentioned, I can't remember what sector it was. They were doing, I calculated about 15 miles an hour on the cobblestones, and that's nasty. You don't want to go that slow. And Kopecky took off. She's just like, enough, and just started blowing things apart again. But as soon as they hit pavement, there's that massive chase, and then it slowed down. And that's where Prévot, she took off. And I'm sure that was their long-term thing, is like, because Vos is a great sprinter.
Yeah.
And it's like, go chase. Mm-hmm. Kopecky's already shot all her bullets. Mm-hmm. I mean, they attacked it early trying to get the separation. But, that's not so much for the winner deserved it, and that was a great attack, and that she can ride and handle a bike really well. And
God! You can tell that watch. She is a master of all trades on two wheels.
And without a doubt, she deserved it, and I'm glad she won and stuff. But it was the other is like, wait, throw it out there. Mm-hmm. Who cares if you lose? At this point, you've got our rider up. It has to happen. Mm-hmm. You don't just wait for a team. And that's just my perspective. I like to see aggressive racing. I don't like to see 5 across on a road with 30K to go. It shouldn't be. That should be strung out. Mm-hmm. And I don't like it even on local races when we get down to, like, when you look, even on a training race, there's times where you see it's, last 3 laps of a crit or something like that, and everybody's like slowing down. It drives me insane. And I will sacrifice just to get things. I'll just go out. And I think Dr. David's the same way. It's like that's not fun. It's just not fun racing. To sit in and wait for the sprint, that's not good. So that's my take on that.
But there, and there is so much on the line for those people, and it's almost like, and please, fans of the women's peloton, don't take this as anything less than a compliment. But with the domination of SD Works from so many years, and then the expansion of a lot of these riders, Vollering going and with Lisa Longo Borghini going to a different team, it's almost like there's a little dilution where it's not just this one strong shot of espresso, for a bad metaphor, but now it's become a cup of drip. Everything. That all the teams have enough flavor, but none have enough to really kind of pump up the caffeine levels. Sorry, there's my metaphors over.
Well, and I think SD Works, it was so powerful for so many years that kind of like I'd run parallel a little bit with Sky in their day.
Yeah.
But Sky only had it during
Grand Tours.
Like Grand Tours and stuff. But SD Works still made it, to me, it was still interesting. Because
almost
Eminique
like Quick Step,
Van
earlier
Vleuten
Quick
was
Step
their
too.
thorn in, Eminique Van Vleuten was like the thorn in their side because she was just. So there was a dynamic there at women's cycling that made it really exciting. And last year's Tour de France Femme was like we were talking about highlights. That last stage was the best I've seen. I think it even, in my opinion, better than 1989 when Le Mans won.
It was one of the best days of bike racing I've seen in a while.
It was great.
Yeah, it was.
That was great. And that's what I think. It's like they hit that level. They hit that level where I'm enjoying watching it. And then just the last couple of races, I'm like, oh, what happened? Someone let the air out of the balloon.
Oh.
So that's how I feel. That's just my opinion. Not a part of Packfiller.
Yeah. This is not endorsed.
Yeah.
So, okay. Jackson, anything to add, or should I jump to the men's race?
Yeah, good to go.
Men's edition on Sunday again proved to be a battle between many of the current crop of greats, with Mathieu van der Poel taking his third win on Roubaix after a battle of the bottle. It sounds like he's an alcoholic. And Tade's tragic turn, bringing plenty of drama to the final kilometers top. Overall, Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar, Mads Pedersen bringing home third place for the sprint ahead of Wout van Aert, who didn't even appear to get out of the saddle. He just looked a little cooked there at that moment. Florian Vermeersch actually bringing two UAE Emirate riders into the top five. Jonas Rutsch, Stefan Bissinger, decathlon. Man, I wonder if EF is missing that. And who had Fred Wright ninth, things like that going on there and so forth down the line. Talk to me. If first and foremost, if the crash would not have happened, do you think the race would have changed?
See, I think it's interesting that you bring that specific point up. I finished watching the race on Sunday, and I said to my wife, I wonder if Matthew's happy with it. I wonder if he'll be as satisfied knowing that Tadej, it wasn't a show of strength. It was just a mistake. And part of me thinks that as he went through that crash, I think he's happy. He won Roubaix for the third time. He's done something that not a lot of people have done. But I think he would have wanted to take him on sheer strength rather than just the crash itself. But truly, the greatest riders deserve the placings, I think.
Mm-hmm. I will say the voice inside his head might say something along the line of, well, Mathieu looked like he was sitting up at first.
Yeah.
To allow it to come back together. Do you agree, Paul?
I disagree.
You don't agree?
I disagree.
But Tadej wasn't able to really close that gap.
Mm-hmm.
So it was mano a mano in that situation. He didn't close the gap. But so anyway, Paul?
Yeah, I think it was a great race. A lot of people were disappointed because of the crash, but I think the result, Tadej wasn't able to dispose of the Mathieu before that point.
Yeah.
The Carrefour would be the last section that he would be able to do that. They didn't get to that point. On that crash, I thought it was interesting. Of course, I dissect. That's just my race, so I dissect it all. Tadej said he was looking down. He came in hard because he looked down. There's a motorcycle in front of him, and there's some motorcycles, off in the ditch, and they're pointing straight ahead. And he thought the road was going straight, and then the motorcycle turned, and he went, I'm going too fast.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because those motorcycles pulled.
Yeah.
He couldn't see the road because he had a motorcycle in front of him with a camera, and then the two on the side of the road, and that's what caused it. Now, everybody was on their knees all the way from. I've never seen Mathieu look so beaten and exhausted in my life. And Tadej said, too bad he got a bike change, later on and stuff. He said, I didn't have my computer on me and stuff, but I know that's the hardest effort I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
That's unique about this race. And to me, people say, oh, it's bad luck. No, that was an error on the user error right there.
Yeah.
That's part of the race. Bad luck is you lean a little bit towards maybe Mads with his flat front tire, but he made a choice to take an undesirable line to try and advance up. That's the chance you take in Paris-Roubaix. So this race, there's constantly, and And I think too, it's such high intensity for so long, no matter how good a quality or what shape you're in, your mind starts to go and you're making decisions. And look at Matthew towards the end, he made some errors and corners, which he normally doesn't do.
Yeah.
And he had no radio. His radio didn't work. His power meter stopped working.
Oh, shit.
And so he didn't even know how far Toddy was behind when he had the bike change. He just,
kept on the gas.
Kept on going. And you could see, when people are comparing this, whether he's set up or not, compared to Pidcock at Strada Bianca. Pidcock was pushing, not 100%, but he was pushing it. And as soon as he was getting reports saying he's coming in, I'm sure they're giving him time. He's like, he's going to catch me.
Yeah. I might as well.
Because he's, my better chances let him join in and because they're so far out.
Yeah.
And Matthew said the same thing. He was so far out, and they started coming into headwinds and cross headwinds and that type of thing. So Matthew just said, he didn't know it. He didn't have any information. It was just go. So I don't think he waited at all, which I don't blame him. It's not the Tour de France. Had it been, to me, like waiting for somebody, a leader or somebody with respect, is somebody who had a misfortune of got a flat or there's a crash. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
This is a one-day classic. It is, you have one shot. You don't wait for people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Let's talk about the bottle scene around the world. A spectator threw a full bottle, for those of you who have been living in a cave, at the face of Mathieu van der Poel as you rode by at 50 kilometers per hour. Mathieu described this as attempted manslaughter. First of all, before we even continue, thoughts on the accusation of it even being attempted manslaughter?
I think it is heavily, heavily, heavily within poor taste. I don't know if it was going to kill him.
I mean, 50K an hour, bottle hits you in the face, you fall down, you go head first into a veritable cheese grater of a road.
I see his case for sure, and I think that I do agree with the claim of taking legal action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Manslaughter, maybe not, in my personal opinion, but you are attempting to destroy a person of their livelihood, and you are attempting to destroy a person of something they have rightfully earned.
Yeah.
And so I'm an attorney, but manslaughter, you could have vehicular manslaughter if you hit somebody on a bike and you were at fault.
Yeah.
So in that terms, I guess if he had been, hurt and injured, I guess that's a case, but attempted indicates that that was his intent to do that, to possibly create so he would die. And somebody's going to probably say, you don't know the law, and I don't.
No.
But I think just the little that I know, I think that's it.
To.
I think it was absolutely total bullshit. I absolutely hate it. And I heard that this guy turned himself in.
He did. He has turned himself in.
And, it's like, I think he needs to be an example. And even throwing beer or spitting, that's got to come to a stop.
They've been doing this shit to Matthew for decades, for years, and they've been doing it to other riders for years. Voldemort got piss thrown on him.
Yeah, and that happens to all riders. And Merckx got punched in the kidneys, in the Tour de France. I mean, there is some bad apples. If you think there's over 1 million people that stretched that road in Paris-Roubaix, we had beer splashed on them. This is Matthew just in that, what I know, maybe one or two. And the bottle was certainly the worst thing ever. I mean, that's just not excusable by any means. I think that should go as far as it go to the law. Somebody made a comment that they should put this guy on a brick wall and everybody throw full water bottles at him for punishment. So that might be.
There you go.
I don't know this guy from Adam, but it's he could be a gigantic twat. He could be just a guy who had a couple too many St. Bernardus and let his emotions get the way of him, and that he could potentially be the one to be made an example of, where this has been a violation from people for forever. And all of a sudden, we're just gonna single this guy out and potentially ruin his life for a moment of being a dumbass. But I agree, we need to This shit needs to stop.
Yeah.
You know, the most beautiful thing of our sport is that you can stand on a roadway, open roadway, not a stadium, not a cage, not a, you know, high ticket, anything like that. These people didn't pay a penny to be there. And you're watching legends of the sport fly by you at 30 miles an hour, and that you would ever have the inclination, whether you like them or not, to try and ruin that is ruining that beauty for millions of people, and potentially causing something. You know, we can't ever get to the point where we've got an entirely fenced in course. It's never going to happen.
No.
But what you do is, if this kind of shit continues, you're going to ruin cycling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And that's where, as you know, this guy could be the nicest person in the world. He could have a family of 4, and, you know, he supports them all and everything like that, and he just got too wasted. But when are we going to finally have the perfect asshole who we can, you know, we can put against the wall and throw bottles at him? We're not. And this behavior needs to completely come to a stop, because it's, you know, like I said, you're going to hurt somebody. You're going to really hurt somebody. You know, if you watched Matthew get hit and his head moved, kind of like a fuck, you know, kind of a thing like that, but his hand stayed steady on the bars, thank God. You know, we saw Yves Lampard go down, you know, from getting hooked by a bag. Was that 2 years ago?
Somebody stepped out with a camera. They're trying to take a picture.
Yeah. And, you know, and I keep thinking of the Voldemort year where he hooked somebody's musette bag, and those types of things. And that's scary shit, you know. Opa Omi, what was it? You know, the woman with the sign, you know, it's like, the world is full of stupid people, to quote the refreshments.
There is a difference. I think if you're going to do punishment, the difference would be the stupid person with the sign saying, hello, Opa.
Yeah.
You know, that she had her back. She's just being stupid.
Yeah.
But throwing beer, piss, spitting, purposely doing something to distract the rider from doing that. This lady had no intention holding up that sign that she would, you know, take out Tony Martin. Yeah. You know, and that at 35 miles an hour, and then wipe out the whole pack. She was just being stupid. You know, that's different. Her intent was never to do that. When you throw shit on people, your intent is to distract or hurt or slow them down or defeat them in some way. You mentally take them out. So
it's not manslaughter, but it should kind of encroach upon assault.
Yeah, absolutely. With assault, I agree 100%.
Yeah. And these people should pay, you know, even though, you know, whatever her sign said, you know, the woman who did that, there should be a price to pay for her, you know, even if it's a fine, even if it's something like that.
I think she did have to pay.
Did she?
Yeah, I think she did get punished for that. So,
you know, and I know that this guy turned himself in, and I'm glad, but I would hope that the people standing beside him would have just, you know, grabbed him and beat the living shit out of him on the side of the roadway. You know, vigilante justice isn't going to do it, and I'm a Batman fan, you know, and I'm not encouraging vigilante justice, so don't say, you know, hey, the Packfiller Podcast wants you to kick people's ass.
I think I probably would if I was there. I would have jumped.
Yeah, you know that it was apparently a Matty Mahoric fan group area, and this club who's in charge said, this guy's not a part of our group. He's not allowed to be a part of our group. You know, F this guy. And, you know, God, it's so interesting how they crumble when they, you know, they have the balls to throw a bottle, but then they realize, oh God,
well, I'm
in trouble.
I think it's interesting. He had the balls to step forward.
Yeah.
He didn't have people search him out. He didn't hide.
Yeah.
Who was it that some truck driver, who did he hit? Some Italian.
David Rebellin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy hid out for as long as he could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Killed him.
Killed him.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's, well, I guess that's a little worse than throwing a water bottle, but I mean, when you kill somebody, but still, nevertheless, he did at least step forward and
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that helps when you're going to be an example like, oh, that's him. So they don't have to spend this time. It's because we have a tendency to that cool-off period where they finally found the guy. Well, we're already at the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And it's not, now we're right at that moment, the heat moment, where we're all feeling that anger and stuff. And it's like, let's get to it.
Well, and in some cases, if the guy comes out and he volunteers, we're going to be more apt to go, okay, I've fucked up before too, and it isn't the last time, that I'm going to fuck up. But, thanks for coming forward. Maybe the punishment will be a little bit more lenient, but still there's got to be something. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something.
Yep.
All right, looking ahead, this weekend continues with Amstel Gold. I have asked Paul to give us a little brief description of Amstel Gold because even though you haven't been there, you always act like you have been there. And looking at the start list, things again stacked to the gills in terms of potential winners, both men and women. Holy shit! Paul, talk to me about what to expect from a race like Amstel Gold.
Well, Amstel Gold is a lot of short up and downs. I mean, it looks like, in the words of Phil Liggett in his heyday, a row of shark's teeth. But they're short little punchy climbs. I mean, there's some pretty steep. The Kalberg is their most famous one. That usually is the last one. The Valkenburg. There's all these bergs all over the place. So.
Yeah.
But it's just one after another, and that course is usually we get over the top of the hill. You got a left turn, a right turn. The next thing you know, there's a hill. There's always left, rights, and stuff. There's a lot of not time to recover and that type of thing. But I can't tell you when the women's. I can't remember. I know from the get go that was 1966 when the first edition of Amstel Gold.
Okay.
For men's, I don't know the women's because. This is back in the day, just recovering. Mm-hmm. When I used to know all that detail.
These moments
now
come
I'm 62.
back.
It's like, ugh.
Now, all those years of LSD, you crack your back, and suddenly you're in a secondary high.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I get it.
Sweet.
Gentlemen, looking at the women's race, first and foremost, who stands out? Demi Vollering is back, as is everyone else. Actually, it looks like a bigger lineup than Roubaix, personally, for me. And we talked about this, and I don't mean dilution in a bad way, but we've got a lot of incredible riders spread out over a lot of teams. So, Jackson, I guess, instead of saying who stands out, just for the sake of time, who are the three you've chosen, and maybe give it a little description as to why?
I have picked Lotte Kopecky, Demi Vollering, and Marianne Vos. I picked Demi Vollering, especially knowing that there's a good bit of climbing in here, and I expect her to probably be one of the top three. Lotte Kopecky, it's hard to not, being probably the world's best rider at the moment. Yeah. And then Marianne Vos, it's a safe bet. It's hard to pick between her and Ferrand Prévot, but I think with this one, with the slight lack of the varied terrain, in terms of like the road surface, I think that might be a little bit leaning more into Mariana's favor.
And the potential that it could come down to a small group sprint.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she usually fares well in that. Paul?
Pretty similar. Vollering, and I have Kopecky. And the reason I picked Kopecky, not only is she good, but I think she's been sacrificing quite a bit for everybody else. I think she's working more on hills. And
she had a good Flanders.
Yeah, she had a good Flanders. And I think also her target is a Tour de France femme.
Yeah.
And so this might be kind of in her, where she's aiming for, starting to build up. And then Anna van der Breggen, I just think maybe because I'm geriatric and I like that she's older, and so I'm going to go for the older rider. She's got she's smart.
Yeah.
She's crafty. She's got great racecraft. So I think there's a good chance. And she's won it before.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I noticed that we're all kind of going one rider different. Although, no, Jackson, in essence, I'm about to cancel out your three because I did not pick Vollering, but I did pick Kopecky and Vos. And then I picked Elisa Longo-Borghini just because I always pick Elisa Longo-Borghini. But her problem in Flanders was not due to fitness. It was because she crashed and she wanted to go into concussion protocol. And so I think she's going to be a little angry, and she might come back at this one just to show that her fitness is not a fluke, that she is ready to go. So that's where I think we're going to go. All right, to the men. The boys, again, truly stacked. Mathieu appears to be taking some time off to drive his Lamborghini. Well earned. And we've got, of course, Tadej Pogačar. Hell hath no fury like Tadej Pogačar scorned. So I have a feeling all three of us are picking Tadej Pogačar, but let's talk about who and why.
Yeah, so my choices were Wout van Aert. I think with the names, and I hate saying this about a truly generational talent, but I think without the name of certain Van der Poel, I think that he kind of takes that second spot.
Oh, okay.
I did pick Tadej Pogačar, and Tadej is going to win this one. I think we all know that.
Assuming rubber side down and everything like that.
Yeah. And then I picked somebody who has had some really great form every time they've come to the road, and that has been Thibaut Nice.
Oh.
Every single time he has come, he has won. Mm-hmm. So I think he will be showing that pretty well on a really good team.
Paul?
Same with Wout. I'll always pick Wout. He's my, as I mentioned before, he's my Sepp Van Marken.
Yeah.
And then Tadej, I'm hesitant to pick him just because he's been on top. As talented as he is, your body just cannot be at full all the time.
That's a big July coming up ahead of him, man. And that's what scares me.
Roubaix took a lot out of him. A lot. And by the way, by the watch.
Yeah.
Do you know that Mathieu had the exact same watch?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
No bleeding.
Yeah.
He's a little further down, I think, on Tadej's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway,
he likes that loose look.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I went with Remco Evenepoel.
Did you?
Yeah,
the return of Remco.
He is a punchy. This is his type of parkour. I think he has to make a statement, and I don't think he'd be entering this race if he was half-baked.
This is a good point. I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. That he's not gonna show his hand and go, well, I'm kind of ready.
Yeah.
He's gonna dance into this. So that's got to be really interesting. Well, Wout and Tadej are out of the drawing because I picked them both also. And then without thinking about the Shark's Tooth profile, I just want Michael Matthews a day in the sun. So I don't think he's gonna do it. He's not gonna be anywhere near. And I circled that before I talked to you about the profile, Paul. But I circled it in ink. And so I'm sticking with it. So I'm screwed. I'm pretty screwed. But,
But you never know. I mean, this race, if it comes down to a sprint, if he's in there, that's one thing about Michael Matthews.
Yeah.
He's not a bad climber. If he can sit back. If he's in for the sprint, he would knock all these guys that we just named.
Yeah.
Even Wout. I think he'd take out Wout.
If you, by the way, another guy that pops into my head, if you're looking after a guy like Ben Healy, if Ben Healy has a chance to get away, he, in the Tour of the Basque Country just recently, he got a stage win just because he's that guy who just is tenacity and just keeps going.
He never stops.
And at some point he gets away and they can't get him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that'd be cool. Thibaut Nice is good. He's
very good.
Though, Jackson, I like that. Well, look at you, big boy.
Yeah.
Where are we now? Oh God. It's time for the topic of tonight, and I can't remember what bumper I hit when I hit the topic, so I'm just going to hit this one. And it's not sponsored by anybody, because this one is interesting. Last week, Jackson brought to our attention a little test called the Enneagram. Enneagram? Enneagram. And he revealed his results, but in my aging forgetfulness, I forgot what number that was, and that's been kind of interesting for at least for me. If you didn't listen to last week's show, Jackson revealed this is a personality type test. We had said it. You can search it and find it right now, and probably hit pause and take it, and then come back and tell us what number. Not tell us, but follow along, and what number you could be, and find out if you're in the same category as fucked up Pat or something like that, and just kind of do these types of things. And I'm really kind of cool about what we're doing here. Yeah, thanks, man. Is to see what category we all fit into. If we can maybe even throw out a guess at each other's or something like that, and then just take it from there. And I asked you to kind of take the helm on this one. Yeah. Sorry if I ruined anything or something like that, but Jackson, take the wheel.
Yeah. So as we described what the Enneagram test is, I have the whole description out of Google. So an Enneagram test is a personality assessment that categorizes individuals into one of 9 personality types based on their core motivations, desires, and fears. It's a tool that can be used for self-discovery and understanding interpersonal relationships, and personal growth. The test typically involves answering a series of questions, and results reveal which one of the 9 types best describes your dominant personality and the other secondary types that might influence your behavior. Those types being, it is 1 through 9. So, I have here what they're called.
Yeah.
Number 1 is called the reformer, or as we have here, the moral perfectionist.
Okay.
Number 2 is the helper, or the support advisor. Number 3 is the achiever, or the successful achiever.
Okay.
Number 4 is the individualist, the romantic individualist. Number 5 is the investigator, or the investigative thinker. Number 6 is the loyalist, or the loyal guardian.
Oh, boy.
Number 7 is the enthusiast, or the entertaining optimist. Number 8 is the challenger, or the protective challenger. And number 9 is the peacemaker, or the peaceful meditator. So,
I'm already nervous.
So since I did reveal mine last week, I will go first as to what you guys think I might be.
Do you remember, Paul?
I said
What
9,
Jackson was?
9 because everybody talks about, he's the one that's what I picked for him, only based on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he tells.
He's like brings us all down when Sam and I and Dave and we're all getting.
And you don't
he
even do
pulls
that
it back.
verbally.
Yeah.
You just your aura
Yeah, which
chills
would be the
everybody
peaceful
the
mediator.
fuck out.
Yeah. Was that one of your wings?
That was not. I'll go back to the picture that I have.
Boy, was I judged wrong.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm trying to think if it was 7, the optimist, that being happy, satisfied, and content, and along those lines. Am I nowhere close?
I am in fact number 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
remember.
I am the perfectionist, or the moral perfectionist. So my core fear is being wrong, bad, evil, inappropriate, or corruptible.
That's good fear.
Mm-hmm.
Core desire is to have integrity, to be right, virtuous, and the good boy/girl, and which can deteriorate into critical perfectionism. My self-image is I'm accurate, thorough, diligent, responsible, moral, correct, just, in control, and fair. My core weakness is resentment. And then...
So do you find this is true? Do you find these are accurate?
I think, kinda, yeah. I think resentment, saying like, as the definition saying, this is anger that has been repressed, leading to continual frustration and dissatisfaction with themselves and with others in the world. I find that I definitely do have that resentment, sometimes not based on other people, but based within myself. I do find that being the perfectionist, I am very much like, okay, what went wrong? What went wrong? Mm-hmm. How can I fix it? But what's interesting is, in many cases, I do that internally, and then when I've done that internally, then I'm ready to share verbally. And so yeah.
Okay.
Because my next question, well, actually, let's go around.
Are we going to do your wings too?
Oh, well, my wings are, sure, we can do that,
so
yeah.
Wings are your second category and third.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I took a photo of my results.
So my wings are 7 and 4. So
all over the place.
7 being the entertaining optimist.
Okay.
Or as my little handy dandy link here is, so the enthusiast, the busy, fun-loving type, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered. That can very much be the case. And then 4 being the romantic individualist, or the individualist, the sensitive, withdrawn type, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental. I don't know about 4. 4 to me is, I don't know if I see myself as like temperamental very much. I can be self-absorbed in some cases.
Okay.
But yeah, that's mine. I'm super interested to hear what your guys' is.
Oh my
Let's
God.
start with Paul. And so
Great.
You guys going to guess?
I was going to say, Dad, you and I have to guess now. I think you're also a number 1.
Do you really? You think you're saying that Paul is a moral perfectionist?
I think Paul, yes. rational, idealistic type, principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and I think he's a perfectionist.
Okay. I think Paul is a type 5.
Type 5 being the
Investigative
type.
thinker.
Oh, and thinker, yeah.
That he,
Perceptive,
intelligent,
innovative.
introspective. You do a lot of thinking. You're how you build things up. So, Paul,
I like that one, but I wasn't 5.
you weren't 5.
I was 1.
You two. You guys are the
Wow.
same.
Yeah, I was 1.
I gotta go talk to my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's gross.
it gets scary later. But
Does it? Yeah.
But what I wanted to mention when I was taking this test, and in the green room we were talking about, you start overthinking the question. It's like, how do I want?
Yeah.
Is this
Yes.
how people perceive me?
Yeah.
Or what
Or
mood I'm
do
in
I
right
perceive
now?
myself?
Yeah.
And what does this say if I make? Because I don't want to be this person that comes off this way and this way.
Sure.
So then I started thinking differently. I started thinking, okay, at work and during cycling, my personality is this way. That's how I was going to do it, not as a husband and friends.
Sure.
Right.
So that's how I had
I
approached it
agree.
because I think this.
Oh, so you
my
took it with that
personality
in
is
mind.
different. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But at first, I struggled like the first 10 questions because that was my battle, and because this is based on cycling, and cycling is work, and then I tried to take that all those questions based on how I'd perform at work and
good way to put it.
coworkers and that type of thing. But I think I would answer. There's a couple of questions that I didn't think pertained to cycling at work.
Yeah.
That I think gave me my wings.
Mm-hmm.
And my wings are exactly like yours.
Yeah.
Really?
7 and 4.
Jesus H.
So we're a lot alike then.
Yeah.
Christ. Wow.
Yeah. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
In resentment, that core weakness being resentment, are you guys the kind of guy that if you're wronged, you're like going, I'm going to figure out and I'm going to get that fucker?
Yeah. Not so much. See,
Not
there's
kill,
the problem.
not vengeance.
It's when I'm wrong, I don't take it on the person who's wrong. I take it on myself.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That's the difference. Internalizing when somebody's wrong, I never try and reflect it on people. That's something probably earlier in my life I did because I was mad because I was wrong, and subconsciously I'm taking
brought
it
that
out
out
on
in
you.
me. Yeah.
And that's typical when you get married, your early stages of your life. When your wife's right, you don't want to say, at least for me, it's just like, no, this is a battle of will, and you're not going to, kneel. And so now it's like, seriously, I don't care. I just don't want to fight anymore. It's not that important.
Okay.
You love this person, and it's like my pride I got to put to the side.
Oh, wow.
And so when I look at it, it's like, don't go there. So it's more self-reflective.
Sure.
On a resentment.
You
not
use
towards
that's a
individual.
productive way in which
Yeah.
to use it. So that's pretty good.
See,
That shows growth.
I fucking hate being wrong. But
Me too.
I hate
I don't like it.
I hate being wrong professionally. I'm wrong a lot in other senses.
That's
and
not
I know
right.
that. Yeah.
But do you take it personally to yourself? Do you internalize that?
When it's professionally?
No, you as a person, when you're
Oh.
wrong as a person, do you where do you release that or focus on
a while
energy?
ago, I think it was hard for me to admit that I was wrong, just because it's like whether it be through whatever happened prior. I'm not gonna say parents because
Oh, we fucked you up.
yeah no I because that's not what I was gonna go
Your
to.
only goal in life is that you fuck your kids up a little less than your parents fucked you
Yeah.
up.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all. That's your goal in life.
But whatever happened prior, I think for a while there, I was like, I'm not wrong, and no matter who tells me who I'm wrong, I'm still not wrong.
Okay.
And that was hard for me because it was like a poor reflection on myself. Like I was stupid. But now it's just like, like
I'll
you're
eat
wrong.
the crow. Oh,
Yeah.
Give me some salt and pepper. Give it here.
Yeah,
I'll eat it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
only recently have I learned to tell myself that there are good, not recently, probably within the past like 3-4 years, I've been able to tell myself like there are good things to learn from other people, and that's obviously something that's very obvious. Other people are really good teachers, but I sometimes used to think that I will figure it out my way, and I don't care what anybody else has to say because if they're going to teach me, that means I didn't have the right way.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that was
I
really
fall
hard
in
for
that
me.
category too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, And you're a rule follower. Yeah, big time. It drives me nuts. There is a crosswalk. My wife will cut corners. It's like, no, it's there. And she's like, are you serious? But if you're outside of the car, if we cut a corner crossing, somebody making a left-hand turn or right-hand turn, cutting, they're going to hit you.
Yeah.
But if you're in that crosswalk, you know, that's the rules. I'm playing by the rules. You are 100% wrong. You know,
because I
played by the rules. You didn't. And when I was a kid, I've always been that way.
Yeah.
It's like, you know the rules of cycling. It was important the first time I got my USCF license. They give you that rule book, remember?
Yeah.
I studied it like crazy.
Oh, my God.
And even as an electrician, I hated when I got called on a correction. And I can tell you, even the codes, like the one that really stung me was 250.104 in 1999, you know, and it was a grounding for a gas line. It was added, and I missed that in the class. And I'm like, I've never done that before. You know, there's no way I missed it.
Yeah.
And so I called the inspector, and he gave me that code, and I read it, and it's like, shit.
And you never forget that shit.
No,
and
it's
you
just
will
like
never do
hammered
that
in.
again.
Every gas line will be grounded.
That was in
from here on out.
1999, and I still remember the code reference. So, you know.
Oh, God.
So, what about you?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Gentlemen, I'm going to allow you to pick my brain apart. Good luck. This is going to be a 5-podcast series. Enjoy.
This is going to be interesting because I do see you in a number 4 role, maybe.
Number 4 is
romantic
individualist. Okay.
Which being core fear being inadequate, emotionally cut off, plain, mundane, defective, flawed, or being without significance.
Wow.
Your desire is to be unique, special, and authentic, and their authentic self. But you can deteriorate into self-indulgence.
Wow.
Your self-image is that you're deep, intellectual, emotional, accomplished, tasteful, long for beauty, and have good aesthetic.
Oh, telling me I'm a handsome guy.
Yeah.
Your weakness, however, would be envy.
Whoa.
In that one.
Yeah. That's what do you call it? Phobe or whatever that. What is it when you have desire for
FOMO?
FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
But I also could see a type 8, the protective challenger.
Ooh.
Being
fear of being weak, powerless, harmed, controlled, manipulated at the mercy of injustice.
I'd say that's one of his wings.
I bet it probably is.
Wow. Desires to protect yourself. Wow.
I think it's time. Paul, do you have any guesses?
I'm looking them over. I mean, I always look at the fear because he always talks about the fear part.
Yeah.
Obsessed
and none of them are really kind of fit in there
Yeah.
because some of it's joking. I know he's jokes, but there's some underlying truths. I would say type 3 was his number 1.
Type 3 is
successful achiever.
But like you got this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Fear of failing, fear of being incompetent.
You're an actor, all that type of thing. But fear of failing, you do not like to fail.
No, I hate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Desire to be valuable, admired, and respected.
Well, that comes from your theater
I
background.
thought it was.
See, this is why I picked this. So that would be
David's.
mine.
What?
I figured out David. Sorry.
I figured out David's. Okay. You're already on to David. No, I get it.
No,
I will not be ignored.
No, I just got a text. I was
he
surprised by
sent
what he
it.
just got. All right. So I think it's time you reveal.
Gentlemen, I am a number 4.
Wow.
I am
you
number
nailed
4.
it.
Wow.
A fear of being inadequate. Yeah. Emotionally cut off. Yeah. Plain, mundane, or defective. I talk about that shit all the time. Or flawed. Being without significance. To be unique, special, and authentic. It says deteriorates into self-indulgence. I don't have a drinking problem. You have a drinking problem.
Bikes, what? 19, what?
Yeah. Deep, intellectual, emotional, accomplished, tasteful. I like that. Long for beauty. Yeah. Envy. I do envy. It is my deadly sin.
Yeah.
I want to be as fast as I was when I was 23. And Jackson is, and I fucking hate him for that. But yeah.
What are your wings?
My wings, before I do want to mention, my wings are 1 and 2.
Oh.
Your wings are 1 and 2. That's super interesting. I thought they were the opposites.
Moral
of
perfectionist and supportive advisor.
Huh. I think if you're a type 1, you got to be connected to 4 in some way, whatever level.
And Jackson, I do have to say that when you were reading yours, I do want to say that you said your wings were 4, which is me.
7 and 4.
And you said your other wing was 7. And I was looking at 7, and I'm looking at so many qualities that define your mother. And it is so weird to see that genetic makeup. And I bet if I had your mom take it tonight, sometimes, she sees herself as kind of a, fun, goofy, imaginative, her artwork and stuff like that, and her stylish and her decorating and stuff like that. She's really into that. Oh no. So the core weakness is gluttony. She does. She'll have some wine with me.
Sure.
Yeah. So there we go.
So he got the 4 from you, the 7,
and the 7 from his mom,
and the 1 from
from you.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. All right.
My third parent,
Uncle Paul.
All right.
Yeah.
We keep it tight in the family. It's a little incestual, but it's okay.
But and how this translates into the type of cyclist you are is also very interesting.
I was just going to say.
How your personality
now
makes
I
up the
mentioned that.
cyclist.
Did you guys think cycling or as an individual, like socially or work wise, like I did?
See, that's what I think is so interesting is that I think that those are such strong parts of me that I just incorporated them subconsciously, because at work, I hate being wrong, and I sometimes look at the people that I work with, and I think I'm going to be more right than you all the time.
Wow.
And I think that is a weakness, 100%. I think we all know that.
Yeah, got it.
But when I am wrong, or if something happens that's wrong, that stuff never, and I mean never, happens ever again.
Really?
Like,
yeah.
it is one and
once
done.
you've been spanked, it's done.
Yeah.
It's never going
exactly. And even that translates into the type of cyclist that I am. I remember not last year, but the year before, when all those things happened in my cycling life, crashing, getting second place, not doing well at a certain race, all of those things. I could, as you saw, I named them perfectly. I thought about them for a long time. Even last season when I won the first 2 races of our local series, and then I didn't win the third one, and I thought, why didn't I win the third one? I know exactly.
Fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God damn him.
But I think that's the crazy thing about us number ones is that we don't really blame other people for being wrong. We blame me for being wrong.
What could I have done that's better?
Yeah.
David's a 5.
You think?
Yes.
Paul, what do you think David is?
David, I say he's an investigative thinker. His fear is being ignorant, incapable.
Does he have a fear? I don't think David has a fear. That's
only if Sam tells him what his fear is.
Oh, is that right? Okay, Sam.
Okay.
I'm afraid of that, I guess.
This guy's a fucking doctor, and we're making fun of him like he's a child.
I would say entertaining optimist, 7.
Number 7.
Paul? We might want to hang out with David a little bit more.
Oh, he's a 1?
He is the exact,
Hey,
and I mean
it's us?
exact
All
same
3
as
of
us.
you were
Yeah.
fucking 1s.
Yes.
1, 7, 4s.
Yep. Exact same. Yeah. I'd love to hear more of that from David.
I'm surrounded by a bunch of 1s.
Yeah.
However, should we move to Sam?
Sam? Oh, you
Well,
got
hang
Sam?
on. Just one thing about
Okay.
it. It's a good thing he's a doctor that he's a 1. I mean, I want my doctor to be a 1.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. You don't want a doctor to be. You want a doctor to be feared, afraid of being wrong.
Or peace monitor.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I talked to the cancer, and it says it's going to kind of recess a little bit, give you some more time.
I'll pull back the cancer tariffs for now.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, went political. Anyway, Sam?
Sam. Sam's an interesting one.
Huh.
Sam is a 3, a successful achiever.
I always focus on the fear part more
Yeah.
than the desire. I don't know why. Not weakness, but fears.
Yeah. Which one do you pick?
I would say 3.
3.
We both said 3.
Sam is a 9.
He's a 9. Peaceful
Wishful
mediator.
Well, thank goodness he's not my doctor.
Because his fear is being in conflict, loveless, shut out, disordinate, overlooked, or inamorous. Is that?
Inharmonious.
Oh, inharmonious, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, in amorous, so I've got that. I'm a 62.
Exactly.
His desire is to have inner stability and peace of mind, which deteriorates into stubborn neglectfulness.
That's interesting. Yeah, Sam's at that stage.
He's a good. His image of himself is he's a good listener. He's kind, agreeable, quiet, patient, calm, steady, and enduring.
Quiet. Well, you can't be 100% on this.
No. What? His weakness is sloth. Desire to be unaffected by life. This is an unwillingness to be fully awake to themselves. The desire needs abilities. And resisting to bring their full selves to all life.
Wow.
So an underachiever, really. Don't you think that's what it says?
Look at Sam's little message. His heart longs to hear.
Matters.
Your presence matters. So when Sam shows up late, that's why he shows up late. So he gets the attention walking in. Like we're all like, hey, entrance. Sam's here.
Yeah.
Norm. He's just he's an attention whore.
Oh,
there it is.
Oh my God.
What's his wings?
Oh, he had a 2. He just said one was a 2. So the supportive advisor.
Okay.
So I guess coming off of this stuff, would you say this describes your strengths and your weaknesses in cycling? Does this kind of highlight those a little bit?
Yeah. I'm going to say that envy, definitely does. I want, okay, that guy beat me. I want to know why he beat me, and I'm mad at that, and I want to do that. I want to be that person, and I'm going to obsess my entire life to try to be not that person, but what they have. Mm-hmm. I am emotional, but I also think I try to apply a little intellectual element to it. So, I try not to use big words, but sometimes I do.
Yeah. Paul, do you feel like?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, that, after the first 10 questions, I kind of approached it how I look at my, internally how I look at myself racing. And I think in the desires of having integrity, I accept the defeat when I'm defeated, but then, of course, I internalize what I did to screw that up, that type of thing. It describes how I race almost completely. Weaknesses, resentment, and the anger again is it's on myself, not against my competitors whatsoever. But I'll sit there and stew. And I think we both talked about at the end of the race, whether I win or lose, I have to internalize it first. I don't have an emotional response.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to celebrate the little times that I did cross the line first, because I have to, I'm not sure if I really deserve this quite yet, because it wasn't perfect, and that's how I look at it.
I do say that something that's not in there that I find about myself is that I like to achieve success. I like to do something unique. I kind of like the attention, but I don't want to be called out for the attention. Mm-hmm. I hate when, and I don't mean this meanly, I hate when somebody comes up and says, oh my God, good job, great work, blah, 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 blah. I hate that with the passion of 1,000 suns, because I don't want to stand there and say thank you. I like it when people compliment me, but I hate it when people compliment me. Mm-hmm.
It's the response you hate, because you're going to be judged on your response, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
You like it, but then how do you respond without coming off arrogant?
Yeah.
Or,
of course, it was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Yeah. There's a good story on beyond.
I find something that happens, say, if I win or I do something that I've really wanted to accomplish, I find that I don't let myself sit in it for very long, because I'm like, you're only good as what's next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What can I, how can I continue to make sure I not only win the next one, but I dominate?
Yeah.
And that is that perfectionist mentality of, I can be better than everybody else if I just work a little harder. Mm-hmm. And that's what I consistently do.
Hi, Tade. No, that you would imagine that would be that guy's. He can't just sit back. He can't do it simply because he likes the attention. It's not that. Mm-hmm. He's obsessed with the objectives and the goals, and okay, how can I get better next time? He's gonna ride that until the body starts to shut down.
And same with Milan San Remo, he will find a way to win. Yeah. And same with Paris-Roubaix. I found it interesting the times where Tade lost the first time he raced Flanders, and he ended up getting boxed out and got fourth. He wasn't even on the podium. Afterwards, he's such a good, bubbling, great personality. He was you could see he was not happy. Mm-hmm. And that happened in Milan-San Remo. When he loses, it's not a pouting. Mm-hmm. He's just not the bubbly, Tade. And Paris-Roubaix, he was. Every podcast I listened to 3 different podcasts that were in the, the media scrum at the time, and they're like, he tried to beat Tade, but you could tell that it's not the same guy.
He's pissed.
Yeah, he's probably internalizing, saying, fuck.
Yeah.
Paul, I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this. Whenever I go to something, or whenever I have something.
Of course, you want to ask Paul. You're both these little type ones on your own little. We're number one in category, and we're the best. Hey, let's have a little fucking gathering.
I want to Venn diagram this though, in the different responses. When I show up to something, I feel like I haven't done enough, even though a lot of people have looked at me and said, you've done way more than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel that way?
Oh, yeah, always. I never, there's always something more to do, and that's the perfectionist. So it's like, well, you constantly, Pat, you always ask us, where do you think you're standing?
Yeah.
I will never know. And David said the same thing. He's like, you asked a question earlier, I'll know the first race.
Yeah.
And that must be the perfectionist. I don't know. I'm going as good as I can and doing the right things that I can control, but I won't know until the race. The race is that measurement.
I think the exact same thing.
Here's a question: do you do you think that you haven't done enough, or do you worry that you haven't done enough?
Go ahead.
Oh, I think the worry becomes what I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I
worry that I haven't done enough.
Oh yeah.
Now I didn't used to be that way. When I was young, I was like, I'm going to win this race, or I'm good enough to win this race.
Right. See, I show up sometimes and I think I haven't done enough, and it started out with comparison to other people.
Yeah.
Into purely, only comparison to what I did last year.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I know that there are fast people out there, but I go in thinking, you did a lot, but was it enough?
Yeah.
And then I have a lot of people telling me, you did way more than anybody else has done all year long. So
I look at people like, wow, those shoes are cool. You must be fast. And I wish I was joking.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And then I'm like, where was that guy? Yeah. So
Mr. Fancy Shoes.
Yeah.
He wasn't there.
Fancy shoes. He spent a lot of money on shoes. He didn't wear them. No wonder. They're not scuffed.
Yeah.
Fucker.
I don't know. This is a fascinating topic, and I feel like it describes every little aspect of how you act in life.
And you know what? It's almost a good thing for people to do to try to gain a greater understanding of themselves. One of the things I wanted to ask David about tonight for his segment was talking about the fact that more and more people are being diagnosed on the spectrum, and how that contributes to or doesn't contribute to
vaccines.
No, God,
Sorry.
yeah, to how you are and how you race your bike. And these tests, these personality tests, these traits, knowing what kind of person you are, we're a product of our environment, we're a product of our upbringing, we're a product of our experiences, and to see how that makes you into the type of person you are, and having a greater understanding of that can help you capitalize on your strengths and work upon your weaknesses on the bike. Mm-hmm. And that, so what I want to say not to wrap up the show, because we're running out of time. We're going to probably push segments away to the back burner here, because I think this is something that Enneagram is a really cool, it's a free test, and it's something that I think everybody should take. It'd be kind of an interesting thing to learn about yourself. You're taking, you're going and getting your bike fitted, you're going and getting your fitness assessments, you're going and getting a tailor-made training program. How about trying to understand yourself mentally and who you are as a person, and how you can withstand some of these things, and how you react to setbacks, and being able to identify, wow, this setback really pissed me off. What's my category? Where are my wings, so to speak? And how should I deal with this, knowing that this is, as of now, how I deal with things? Mm-hmm. So this is a really good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I challenge everybody listening to this podcast, take this little test. What's the website? Do you know the initial website?
Yeah, I do. It's, I think it's Enneagram Institute. No, it's not. Let me look
Just
at the one.
Google ENNEAGRAM.
It's EnneagramTest.com.
Okay, there
That's
you go.
all it is.
And take it. And what if you want to, I think it'd be hilarious to just send us just a post with your number. Just write type 7, type 4, type 2.
And what kind of racing you do. Maybe there's a category.
That could be really interesting.
Maybe gravitate, a certain personality towards gravel, road racing, mountain biking. Maybe there isn't a difference, but
Well, I'm in a room of ones. So,
I think what I find interesting for me taking this test, like I mentioned before, I had, for me, it was like, how do I break this down as inner perspective of myself at work or social situations, or because I am a different person at work or bike racing. Mm-hmm. There is that, obviously, that's what I base this on. But I also had a fear that I would fall short.
Yeah.
With this part. It's like,
Shit,
I don't want to be this one category,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But I had to be truthful. It was hard for me to push not to like answer questions where I think they're trying to gear me towards.
Yeah.
But that's how my mind works. And then I think you have to be honest with yourself, how you look at yourself, and that's what's going to tell the story. And I think also this is pretty useful in a pack. If you race constantly with the same group of people, in my opinion, you'll know their personalities. You can use their strengths sometimes and their weaknesses, and try and find their weaknesses and use your strengths against their weaknesses. And that's not just physical, it's a mental game too.
Last thing I have on this story is there's an artist that you can look up, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is. It's called Sleeping at Last, and this person has created an album full of the different Enneagrams.
Huh.
What?
Yes, and it goes 1 through 9, and I encourage you to read the lyrics as it goes through. It's literally called Atlas: Enneagram. For those of you that want to write it down.
I'm writing it down right now.
Atlas: Enneagram by Sleeping at Last. And when I listen to the song of mine, it filled me with emotion, because it's like, this is very much spot on, but it kind of nails it down, and it's really cool. So
okay,
excellent.
That's really fascinating. Jackson, this was really cool, and I'm glad you brought this to our attention last week, and I'm glad we got to do it this week, and I'm glad we didn't have the Waples to just fuck it all up.
Yeah.
Because, knows how to clean conversation.
Well, especially that number 2.
Oh my God! You know what number 2 doubles for?
Oh
full of shit.
He's a dookie.
He is a dookie.
Oh my God! I guess that brings us to the end of another show, and I'm going to play the shortest outro because the question, the final K, is a quick one, gentlemen. What's your protocol on gloves? All the time, only in certain situations, or different ones for different bikes?
All the time.
All the time. Different ones for different situations?
Nope.
Same gloves all
cold.
the time. Yeah.
Cold weather, I'll wear long
but
gloves.
You will race always with gloves.
Yes.
Paul?
Never gloves unless it's cold.
Never gloves unless it's cold. I am different ones for different situations. I have mountain bike gloves. I have cold weather gloves. I accessorize.
Love it.
There we go. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel, as well as pop a review every now and then. We love the reviews. Check out the website and blogazine. We got an update coming from Mao this week. It's kind of introspective, and it's a good one, and it's always kind of fun to do that. Article this Thursday coming out. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Jackson. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.